Greetings and welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be reviewing another wristwatch from AliExpress, this time from the company Tevise. It's another homage watch to the Rolex Submariner, their Tevise T801A model. But before we switch perspectives and take a closer look at the watch, what am I wearing today? Today I'm wearing my Steinhart Ocean One 39 GMT Premium 500 ceramic. It's a long name, but I already did a review of this watch, link in the description down below. So let's switch perspectives now, take a closer look at the watch, and then come back here to talk about the positives and negatives, etc. And let's unbox the watch first, as we always do. The watch comes in this black cardboard box, basically the same box as the Escapement Time watches. Link for that review in the description below. We lift the lid open and we have a VIP guarantee card, which is of course not signed, meaning this is basically useless. What I find interesting is that it says watches since 1952. I highly doubt they actually been making watches since then, but you never know. We also get a watch instructions manual, which again, who reads instructions for a wristwatch? I certainly don't. We get a lovely little cleaning cloth. You can already have enough of these. I like good cleaning cloth included in watches myself. Also, this hang tag came on the watch with some Chinese symbols on the back, which I have no idea what they mean. Maybe this is the price in yuan. If somebody knows Chinese in the comments below, maybe they can translate this for me, what it means. And finally, we get, besides the watch, a watch sizing tool, which is pretty useless. Not useless, sorry, useful to size your bracelet. It's not useless. And finally, we get the star of the show, the Tevise 801A watch. So we can remove this box on the side. We don't need it anymore. Here is our watch. So let's talk about the dimensions of the watch first. The diameter of the watch is 42.5 millimeters. It is 14 millimeters thick. The lug width is 20 millimeters and the lug to lug distance is 50 millimeters. The finishing on the case is fully polished, so we have polished sides and the polishing on top as well. And the material from which the case is made is not 316L stainless steel, even though it says it is. This is a lower grade of steel. It's simply not the stainless steel that's advertised. We have a crown at the 3 o'clock position, with the crown guards actually being longer than the crown. And the crown is not signed, and it is a simple push-pull crown, so it's not a screw-down crown, which means that the water resistance is lower. In fact, the water resistance for this watch is stated at only 30 meters, which basically means run away from any water. This watch is not waterproof at all. The bezel on the watch is an aluminum bezel, and it's a 60 click unidirectional bezel. And the clicks are okay, but there is some back play to it, as you can see. Let's hear how the clicks sound. And what's also very interesting is that the bezel actually somewhat aligns with the indices of the watch, which is a plus. The crystal on the watch is a mineral crystal, so it's not sapphire, but it's also not acrylic, so it has some scratch resistance to it. And also we have the Cyclops at the 3 o'clock position with a decent amount of magnification for the date complication. So let's take a look at the watch dial while we're here. Of course, this being an homage watch, the Rolex Submariner, it has the classic dial layout with the triangle at the 12 o'clock, batons on the 6 and 9 position, and our circular hour markers everywhere else, and also a printed minute track around the dial with the date position at the 3 o'clock. At the 12 o'clock, we have the Tevise logo and the word automatic, and above the 6 o'clock position, we have the stated water resistance of 30 feet, and also the text superlative chronometer and officially certified. And of course, this is false. It's not a chronometer. It's not certified anywhere, but I don't know, maybe they didn't know what to put on the dial. I wish they would have put the automatic instead of this whole 3 text lines, it would have been a lot better. And below the 6 o'clock position, we have the model number, the T801A. And also what's interesting about this, the hour markers in the hands, that they actually have the lume in them. So the fact that it even exists is pretty good. Of course, the lume doesn't last long at all, but it doesn't really matter for this price point. The hands are, of course, classic Mercedes style hands with the lollipop seconds hand. And the color of the dial is this black, kind of gray dial with this beautiful sunburst effect. The dial actually surprised me when I first opened this watch. I did not expect it to have a sunburst dial, so that is a plus for me. As you can see, the seconds hand is ticking smoothly across the dial of the watch, which means that this is in fact a mechanical watch. The movement in this watch is a Tongyi movement. I couldn't find the exact reference number, but it is a Tongyi movement. It has 30 hours of power reserve, and it ticks at 21,600 beats per hour. And there is some decoration on the rotor. However, keep in mind, this is a sticker. This is not engraved in the rotor, even though it looks like it, but this is in fact a sticker, trust me. Of course, the watch does not have the hacking function, but it does have the hand winding function. So we hand wind the watch by moving the crown. And the hand winding function is relatively quiet. If you can hear anything at all, I was hand winding the watch back there. And when we set the watch, when you pull the crown to the first position, by moving the crown downwards, we can set the date. However, pay attention, when the date wheel moves, it moves kind of strangely to the side and clicks back into position. So that's not very reassuring, to be honest. When we pull the crown to the second position, we can set our time. And of course, as you can see, like I said, it's not a hacking movement, so the seconds hand still ticks when we pull out the crown to the second position. And once you're done, you just click the crown back in, and that's it regarding the setting of the watch. The bracelet of the watch is actually stainless steel, so the bracelet is 316L stainless steel, and it's a 3-link bracelet, which is trying to mimic the Rolex Oyster bracelet, with the outer links being brushed and the mid link being polished. It has a fairly decent level of finishing, I guess, for the price. So the links are solid, but the end links are hollow end links. Again, okay for this price point. The clasp also has some brushing on it, with the button for the deploying clasp being polished. How do you open the clasp? You just click the button and that's it. Of course, it's a pressed metal clasp. It's not a metal clasp, but that's again okay. And it has 2 micro adjustments. When you want to click the clasp back in, you just do this. You click it in and it holds the watch. And that's it. That's it regarding the watch. The last thing we can do is actually take a look at how the watch looks on my wrist. I have a 6 3/4 inches wrist, so that would be your reference point. I mean, the watch is too big for me personally, but just so you can get a feel of how big the watch actually is. So this is how it looks on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. And that's it for the watch. So now let's get back to our initial perspective, talk about the positives and negatives, and overall if I recommend you buying this watch. And that was the Tevise T801A close-up. So now let's talk about the positives and negatives, as we always do. However, I just want to say before we start that some of the positives I state will also be in the negatives section. It's simply because of the price of this watch and the level of execution on it. But we'll talk about that more detailed when we get to those actual items listed. So the first positive, the biggest positive for this watch will have to be the price point. I only paid 24 euros for this watch, brand new on AliExpress. I don't think you can find a cheaper mechanical watch that is new online. If you can, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to review it. But at this moment in time, I don't think there is a less expensive new mechanical watch you can buy with this level of finishing and with these specifications. The next positive would have to be the bracelet. The bracelet is a 316L solid link bracelet. It does have hollow end links and a pressed metal clasp. However, I don't think that's an issue considering the price point of this watch. And also the finishing is pretty decent with the brushing and the polishing. As well as the clasp, it does have some micro adjustments. Like I said, it is a pressed metal clasp, but that's not a big problem. Overall, the finishing on this watch is more than appropriate with the brushing and the polishing, with the execution on the bezel, on the dial of the watch, especially the sunburst dial. I was very surprised when I found out this was a sunburst dial, and it placed so nicely on the sunlight. So the finishing, I think, is actually decent considering the price again. The fact that it has lume is also a positive. You would not expect a watch that costs less than $30 to have a lume, at least less than $30, and a mechanical watch at the same time. Maybe if it was a quartz watch, yes, but a mechanical watch for under $30 brand new that it has lume, so that's of course a plus. And one of the biggest selling points, obviously, like I said, it is a mechanical movement for less than $30 brand new. So those were all the positives for me, and now let's talk about the negatives. The first negative would be the bezel. While the bezel is okay, it's usable, it does have a bit too much backplate for my taste. Again, expected for this price point, but I still think that it should be stated as a negative. Another personal negative for me is the size of the watch. Almost 43 millimeters diameter, 14 millimeters thick is just too big for my taste. It's a personal negative. It's not objectively a negative aspect. Maybe you like the watch is bigger. There's also a Rolex Sea Dweller, which is 43 millimeters, but for me, it's just too big. Another negative for some people would be that it is an homage watch. Some people consider homage watches to be fakes. I personally don't agree. I have no problems with homage watches, but I put it as a negative just because some people in the watch community don't like homages. I personally have no issues with that whatsoever. Next negative is the lume. Like I said, even though it was stated initially as a positive, it's also a negative because while it does exist, the lume doesn't last long at all. In fact, the lume fades away very quickly. So that's why it's also in the negative section. And finally, the movement. Even though it is a mechanical movement and again stated as a positive, this movement in my watch is very inaccurate. It was usually around, I think average was minus 46 seconds a day, which is a lot. Also an issue, a fact that this watch will be very difficult, if not impossible, to repair at a watch shop because it would be probably very difficult to find replacement parts, and also the repairs would probably be more expensive than a new watch overall. As well, one of the biggest things about this movement that I saw every single reviewer get wrong, probably because they didn't bother to research the watch enough. This is not an automatic movement inside this watch. It is modded to be automatic or automatic-esque, but in its essence, this is a manual wind movement from Tongyi, and the rotor was added onto it. So a lot of people online complain that okay, the watch starts and when they wear it all day it works, but when they take the watch off their hand, it just stops. That's because the rotor does not do its proper function, because this was never envisioned to be an automatic movement. What you should do is manually wind the movement. When you manually wind the movement, you will easily get the 30-hour power reserve, which was promised, and then the rotor might just give additional power reserve while you're wearing it, and then in the morning you should wind the watch again so it just continues running. However, because it's minus 46 seconds late, you would have to adjust the time again, let's be honest, but still, this is not an automatic movement, at least not a pure blood automatic movement. It is in fact a manual wind movement, so keep that in mind. And those are all the positives and negatives. Overall, do I recommend you buying this watch? Yes. I recommend you buying this watch if and only if you are aware that this is made to be disposable, that this watch will not last your lifetime like most better built mechanical watches. This will last maybe 10 years tops, after which it is gonna probably fall apart. So keep that in mind. If you're keeping that in mind, if you're buying it just to, I don't know, maybe play with it, try to open it and maybe disassemble and assemble the movement yourself, or maybe if you just don't have a lot of money and just want to have a mechanical watch of any kind in your collection, then yes, I recommend you buy this watch. If you expect this watch to last you for 20-30 years, then no, do not buy this watch. It's just not worth it. It's not gonna work. Like I said, it will be more expensive for you to repair this watch than to buy a brand new one. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this Tevise watch. Overall, I think it's very interesting. I think it's very unique because of its price point and what it gives you for the money. And the positives and negatives are what to be expected for 24 euros. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you liked the review, as always, leave a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, leave a thumbs down and maybe give me some suggestions on how I can actually improve my content. Subscribe if you want to see more wristwatch and fragrance videos. And until next time, guys, have a great day and bye.